Today on our show, we're going to be talking about what we do in the shadows and all that that implies. That's next for you on the Nerdynomicon. Welcome to the Nerdynomicon. I am Robbie.
And I am Adrian.
Adrian, we're recording this one day after Father's Day.
Yes, we are. Happy Father's Day, belated.
Oh, thank you very much. Happy Father's Day to you as well.
Thank you. How was your Father's Day?
My Father's Day was fucking excellent, man. It was so good. The whole reason I'm even bringing up Father's Day is actually because of some of the shit that went on for me for Father's Day. Excellent morning. Started out hanging out with Maximus, who's my son, hanging out with Brooke. You know, we had a wonderful day. Got a graphic novel from my mother-in-law, The Greatest Batman Stories Ever Told. First edition. It's a graphic novel. It has a bunch of different stories from years of Batman past. And it was a first edition, and she specifically bought it because it was released the year that Brooke was born. So my mother-in-law's always got cool ideas like that. I think it's really cool the way she looks at things. But we ordered pizza from my favorite pizzeria, and we watched Logan, which made me bawl like a little bitch for the second time. It made me bawl even worse this time than it did the first time I watched the movie, right there at the end. You know the scenes I'm talking about.
Is it the taking the cross and make it into an X?
That's the one. That's the one. That and like the 3 minutes prior to that, bawled like a little bitch with a skin knee. I admit it to the world. That movie gets me right there in that scene. All of that stuff was amazing, but the reason that I'm specifically bringing this up is my wife got me one other thing for Father's Day. There is a orchestra, a performance piece that's kind of touring around, and it's coming to the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra on July 15th or 16th, I forget which, that Brooke got me tickets to. And it is The Legend of Zelda, the Music of the Goddess, or the Dreams of the Goddess, or something like that. The Songs of the Goddess, something of the Goddess. And it is a musical rendition of the songs from The Legend of Zelda. And it's supposed to have like this big video presentation, and the music is kind of set to it. So it's almost like a visual symphony. Symphony of the Goddess. That's what it is. God damn, I was tripping all over my words. I couldn't find the right one. Symphony of the Goddess. So she got me tickets to see that. And I've got to be honest with you, man, I am so excited.
I'm a little quiet here because Symphony of the Goddess sounds like it gave me an idea, and I feel like you would totally be on board with this. It sounds
Let me grab my pen.
Sounds like the title of a Zelda Metroidvania, and then I was thinking how awesome it would be to have a 2D Zelda Metroidvania style game. Oh my
god!
Like, right? Symphony of the Goddess. That
Adrian, I don't think I would never not be playing that game.
I'm surprised no one has done it yet.
So cool! Oh my god, I love that. I absolutely love that. It does sound like that. It really does. So, Brooke got me tickets to go see Symphony of the Goddess. Obviously, one for me, one for her. So, I squealed like a little schoolgirl. Apparently, I was a girl in many respects on Father's Day. I don't know. And I've already decided, I'm going to throw on one of my nice button-up shirts, and I'm going to be wearing a Legend of Zelda t-shirt underneath there. I've got, from Loot Crate, I've got this Legend of Zelda kind of like dog tag necklace that I'm planning on wearing. Oh my god, I got so excited. So excited, in fact, that today I actually went out and bought a Nintendo 3DS, Legend of Zelda themed 3DS, because I just figured out that like 7 out of the 15 or 16 games are available for that system. So I cannot wait to just spend the next month pre-gaming for Symphony of the Goddess. I am so fucking excited for this. So that was probably the most inventive Father's Day gift that I know I've ever had, because I've only had 2, but that I've ever heard of anyone in my immediate family getting. So I was over the moon excited about that when she just told me, yeah, so this is what we're doing. I'm like, okay, I'm so fucking in. Because The Legend of Zelda is that is one of my all-time favorite games. And it's a series that I often overlook when I'm discussing video games, mostly due to its popularity. You know, even though Silent Hill and Metal Gear and Dark Souls are all extremely popular, it's true, The Legend of Zelda is always on a different playing field. Do you know what I mean?
Not really, because I never got into the series. I think we've had this conversation before. It's not that I don't like it, but it's that I really disliked the very first one, and then I kind of held a grudge against it, because I am a spiteful, angry, hateful person. So, I don't know the magic of Zelda.
Okay, fair. The Legend of Zelda is just very interesting to me because it touches on so many classic Greco-Roman themes from lots of their old tragedies and lots of their old plays. And the first year that I ever went to PAX East, there was only one panel that I was really interested in seeing, and I was able to go. And it was something akin to, is The Legend of Zelda as important or significant as The Legend of Beowulf? And the guy that was delivering it, that thesis, was actually very, very, very eloquent. He was very knowledgeable, and he was kind of going through the allegories and the themes and everything. It was a very interesting piece, and I'm pretty sure it's still up on YouTube if you guys want to try to find that. But it was a very, very cool piece. And by the way, I do subscribe to that. I think in the world that we live in right now, The Legend of Zelda is as significant as Beowulf, just because of how much of a cultural impact it has had since its inception, over 30 years ago. Wow, it did come out in 1986. So 30 years we've had The Legend of Zelda, and it's become essentially a part of almost everybody's life, whether they realize it or not. Even people that don't play video games, they recognize the theme songs. People will point out different tropes or different colors or even so much as names, and it just automatically falls in with The Legend of Zelda. Again, even if you've never played the game. So I just think that was a really cool panel that I watched, and it's a really cool way of looking at it, how a video game in our day and age really can potentially have the same significance as a story told centuries, maybe even millennia ago. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see, once the lizard people give us our suits or are able to give us the technology to download our consciousness into computers. It's going to be kind of interesting to see in a few centuries how The Legend of Zelda progresses and whether that story stays with us. Wouldn't you agree, Adrian?
I'm very confused by your last statement. Are we going to be around in a few centuries to see it? Is that what you're proposing?
Absolutely. The lizard people are going to give us the technology. Hashtag lizard truther.
And which specific lizard person? Because from what I understand, the only lizard person is Doc Connors, and he's only friendly when he's not a lizard. So...
You are surly tonight, aren't you?
A little bit. I don't know.
God damn. I got to tell the audience this. I think that this is actually my fault. Because we're getting started tonight a little bit later than we were anticipating, because Once Upon a Time is finally done for the season, so Brooke and I started binging it, and we got into a huge discussion about how it's possible to Disneyfy the story of the Count of Monte Cristo, which is essentially a story about murder and revenge. And I don't understand how Disney is able to Disneyfy so many dark fucking stories. Then she just immediately points to Hunchback. I'm like, yeah, I know, Esmeralda's burned at the stake. Spoilers, I guess, for centuries-old story. But we got a little bit too busy talking about that, and Adrian just texted me, are we still recording tonight? And I'm like, oh my god, we've been talking about this for like 45 minutes. I'm so sorry, I'm behind the clock. And Adrian then decided to get really angry and bitter and start composing a song, a revenge song at me, which was a spin-off of Beyonce's Hold Up. So...
Only half of that is true. I did not compose any songs.
Oh, you were thinking about it, though.
No.
You were thinking about putting on the yellow dress, grabbing the baseball bat. Hold up, I ain't messing with your meatball. Hold up, I ain't messing with your Robbie. That's what you were doing.
Robbie, I will never be messing with your meatballs. Okay? I don't have to write a song about that. No, I guess yeah. I'm probably a little surly. It's you. I was just worried about you, Robbie. I was worried.
I
It was
appreciate
late.
that.
I didn't know where you were. You could have been dead in a ditch somewhere. Okay? I got no message. I got no notes. I had no idea what was going on. I'm just disappointed, honestly.
And then
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
And then to find out that it was all due to the Count of Monte Cristo, and Adrian's like, you didn't even make me a Monte Cristo. You just talked about a book called the Monte Cristo, and now we're late to recording.
I don't have a problem with the Count of Monte Cristo, actually. I thoroughly enjoyed that book. It's been a long time since I read it. I do have a problem with Once Upon a Time, though.
Dude, that show is great. Oh my god, it's so great.
It's so not.
It is so great.
My mom watches that show, and I've seen a couple episodes, and I've felt dangerous levels of eye rolling anytime it's been on, to the point where I was afraid that my eyeballs were going to roll right out of my sockets. It's not that good.
It's so that good. Dude, your surliness is on point tonight. Adrian's over there still with the yellow dress and the baseball bat. You know I ain't too surly to cut me up a nerd. I'm like, oh. Yeah, I'm totally ripping these lyrics off from Kimmy Schmidt, by the way. I am totally doing that, but it's so true with the way you're looking at me right now. We don't even have the cameras rolling.
You're just picking things that I don't jive with, and I don't know what you want from me. I'm going to stand my ground. I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell. I won't back down.
So Beelzebub's going to be standing there. I will release you to heaven if you admit Once Upon a Time has at least a few good episodes. And Adrian's going to be like, no, can't do it. Won't do it. Wouldn't be prudent.
Not at this juncture.
Well, getting back on point about Zelda, that leads me to the one bit of news that I've got for you guys. I am extremely excited once I found this out. Universal Studios Orlando, Florida is expanding, bitches. It is getting bigger. Not only do they have the King Kong ride over at Islands of Adventure, and even that area is going to be getting bigger and bigger because, yeah, the King Kong universe is getting bigger and bigger, and it is confirmed. King Kong versus Godzilla. So fucking in. I believe the release date is 2020. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is the expansion into Nintendo World. Did you hear about this, Adrian?
You mentioned it to me, but I haven't heard any details on it.
Oh, the map has been released. There are going to be 2 areas of Mario. You actually walk through Princess Peach's castle to get into that area. Way in the back there is a Mario World with, and this part has been kind of confirmed somewhat, there is going to be an augmented ride for Mario Kart where you actually put on glasses and you can see the banana peels flying at you while you're in the Mario Kart ride.
Can you interact with them in any way? Like,
that I'm not.
Get them
I'm
out
not
of the way,
sure of.
or...
I haven't ridden the ride. I only know what I read.
Why haven't you ridden the ride, Robbie? You're supposed to be giving us the news.
Because I live in New York. I'm reading to you. I'm telling you what I read. I don't break the news. I react to the news, and my reaction is yay! That is my reaction to it.
Fair enough.
There's going to be a Kirby's area. There is going to be 2 Mario areas, and oh yes, by the way, we are also getting
Metroid.
I'm looking. I'm not seeing Metroid. That does not mean that Metroid is not there.
I just wanted to derail you because I knew you were going to say Zelda. Something Zelda.
I am going to say Zelda. Yes, it looks like we are getting Castle Hyrule. So, yeah.
Castle
this is
Hyrule.
happening.
What about Castlevania? Come on now.
You know what?
Technically,
not that I'm seeing not here,
Nintendo,
but
though. To be fair, that's Konami, so I wouldn't expect it to be there. But I think that was one of the primary series on the original Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh, it absolutely was. And you know what? Let's see how the Netflix series does. Then, who knows, maybe Universal will expand more in a couple of years. It seems like all of these theme parks right now are just vying for control of the market, you know? I mean, Avatar Land has just opened up in Disney's Animal Kingdom, and we're also getting a DC Universe Land, a Warner Brothers Land, where you can actually walk the streets of Gotham, and you can walk the streets of Metropolis. Did you hear about that?
I did not hear about that. I'm just wondering if Yakko, Wacko, and Dot will be walking those streets with me if it's a Warner Brothers.
Actually,
place.
if memory serves, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Are you ready for the downside?
No Freakazoid?
It's in Dubai.
Well, that blows for me, I guess.
Yes, it blows for me too. I'm not going over to Dubai. But if they open one up in, I don't know, Ohio, I'm totally going.
I would have to go since I'm from there.
Exactly. So, that is our bit of news. Universal Studios is getting a Nintendo World. And if you didn't know already, Disney's also got Avatar Land. So, that's getting bigger. The Star Wars Land is getting bigger. So many fucking things for theme park junkies like me. So, it's crazy, man. Looks like Nintendo World is going to be open, by the looks of it, 2018. Everything should be finished there. And at this point, finished there for the first go-round because everything's always expanding in Universal.
Yeah, it is.
So that's all the news that's fit to print to read to you guys and regurgitate these facts on the airs of the Nerdynomicon. So, you ready to talk movies? You saw a couple movies this week.
I saw a couple movies. I actually want to swing back around to something that is unexpected because you sparked something when you were talking about Zelda, and you mentioned it's always going to have a place in your heart even though you love these other series, like and then you mentioned Dark Souls. Which
Yes.
sparked something in my mind. About a week or two ago, I think I was trying to get you on board to get the Humble Bundle that was up, which had the Adult Swim games, and I was trying to persuade you to get it, but I don't think you did. But I've been playing one of the games that was in that bundle called Volgar the Viking, and it is really fun. It's difficult. It's 2D side scroller, like old school arcade game, but it's got that almost like Dark Souls difficulty without all the exploration and 3D-ness.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got, I think, before any of the like extra stuff that you can do to get to different endings, because it's got multiple endings, just to get to the worst ending, 7 levels, 2 parts each. It took me like 7 hours to get through it. That's
Are you serious?
That's an average of an hour per level. And it's not because the levels are long, it's because you have to do everything pretty much just right or you will get punished. This game won't punish you, but it's really enjoyable when you finally get it figured out. And there's only 2 checkpoints per level. There's the very first checkpoint when you start the level, and then there's the checkpoint when you get to the second half of the level. So when you go
Sounds
up against,
more like Demon Souls than Dark Souls.
When you get up against that big bad boss, and it's the first or second time you're still trying to learn his patterns, you die, and then you got to go all the way through that half of the level again just to get back to him, which isn't easy in and of itself.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at this right now. Actually, I don't even need to have gotten it on the Humble Bundle. It is available for the PS4. And it looks like it was inspired by games from the early 1980s like Rastan and Ghosts and Goblins.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I was never good at that game, but I always loved that game. That game made me respect permadeath. Okay? Mm-hmm. How could it not? That game was all about permadeath. And the biggest problem that I had is, unlike any other Nintendo game, once you started jumping in a given direction, you couldn't change your mind and go back the other way like you could in Mario.
Yep, this game will allow you to correct with a double jump, but that's it. So it will punish you. I would say if you get a chance, I'd download it and play it. I think you'll enjoy it.
Right on, man.
It's got really interesting mechanics where it reminds me of Ghosts and Goblins, where you take damage and you lose your armor and you lose things. Mm-hmm. So as you're playing along, you'll pick up these, you'll open up chests and you'll pick up power-ups, essentially. And so let's say you're about to die is when you're walking around with just your sword. So the next pickup is a wooden shield.
With just your sword?
Well, I mean, and
not even a loincloth?
Your barbarian loincloth and a sword and some boots.
Okay. Right? All right.
So that's your I'm about to die level. That would be, if you're playing Zelda, your little heart blinker would be going beep, 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 because you're about to die.
Right.
So, but then as you're going through, like, the next pickup will be like a wooden shield, and you can block like one thing with it before it disintegrates on the next block. And then the next power up will actually make it a useful shield where you can block multiple things before it dies.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Admittedly, this sounds badass.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really fun. And then the bosses are tough because they're either way bigger than you are, or they move way faster than you do. But it's still beatable, and you just have to kind of learn the patterns, and you'll find yourself getting like 3/4 of the way through a level and then getting stumped by whatever trap they have set up, and you'll get so focused on that and not being able to get past it that you'll start actually regressing and dying earlier and earlier in the level because you're only focusing on that last part and you're forgetting the earlier stuff. So it's funny and frustrating, and it's a blast when you actually beat any of the levels, honestly. So play it. That's my recommendation.
Okay, I am still here. Let's go over to the movies. Adrian, why don't you talk a little bit about that? I'm gonna be silent for a second because I'm actually looking for it on the PS4 store. I'm actually going to buy this game on air. You've sold me on it.
All right. I'm impressed. Okay, so let me pull up my little notes. So watch.
Yeah, admittedly, you rarely are able to do that, but you know what? You got me on this one. You got me on this one, and you mentioned Nuclear Throne to me. I don't even think it was on an episode, just in passing. You mentioned it. I don't even know if you recommended it, but you mentioned it. And that one I had to go ahead and buy as well. Even though I haven't played it, it's on my hard drive.
I think the nice thing about Volgar is, as I said, you can get through those levels and get the worst ending if you stick with it in a couple of hours. Like, I'm sure I'm an okay gamer. I'd say maybe a little bit better than average. So an hour per level roughly with a lot of retries and a lot of that. That's not the worst thing. That's not bad to invest in a game if you're having fun, which I was. I'm sure there were people that were faster, but whatever. So
undoubtedly.
It's nice because you can put it down. You know what I mean? It's nice 'cause you beat that level as long as you beat the new boss and you're like, that's 45 minutes, but I did it, or an hour and I did it, and you can just kind of put it down and say, like, okay, I can come back later. I can work on the next boss later. It doesn't punish you for walking away. Although I think to get the best ending, I don't know if you have to go all the way through each level, because it'll let you skip the levels that you've already beat at the beginning when you start it back up. But to get the best ending, I think you have to beat each level in order and then do some extra special stuff. So there's hidden achievements and whatnot. But on to the movies. I watched a movie called Masterminds with Tavia, and it's got Zach Galifianakis in it and a bunch of other famous comedians, pretty much. I actually might have to bring them up, otherwise I'll butcher their names. But it's got two of the most recent Ghostbusters that were not named Melissa McCarthy in it. So it was funny. It was about a guy who's not all that bright, but he decides he's going to rob the armored car company that he works for, and in hopes that he's going to impress this girl, and then things don't exactly work out, and he's kind of getting taken advantage of, and then they're sending a hitman to go kill him, and just all this weird little shit happens that things just magically seem to work out for him, but there's a bunch of funny shit that happens along the way. So it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. She enjoyed it. I'd recommend it probably 3 out of 5, I'd say. Not overly. I'd say it was average. Not
3
anything.
out of 5 what?
3 out of 5 robbed armored trucks.
That's a good metric.
That's a good metric.
That's a good metric.
And then...
all right. By the way, Volgar the Viking, $9.99 on the PS4 store, and hitting download now.
Man, that's great and all, but I was trying to get you with it on the Humble Bundle because I think you could have gotten that one for $1.
Yeah, that's all well and good and all, but this comes with trophies.
And
I can play it on my damn console, I like to.
You get achievements on Steam. It's the same thing as trophies. And
I'm not that much of a computer gamer, Adrian Steve.
It's 2D. You have a USB controller? Come on, man. I'm trying to save you money. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to save you money.
All right, so what was the other movie that you saw?
And the other movie is actually one that I've already seen, and I spoke to you about it, and you loved it too. But I finally got to watch it with Tavia, and we watched John Wick. Seriously, if you guys have not seen this movie,
love this movie.
Watch this movie. It is incredible. It's just a great balls to the wall action revenge flick. It'll break your heart in the first 10 minutes or so, and then it
really will.
And it's just nonstop. Like, you're just rooting for him. And
this is the second
awesome.
best Keanu Reeves movie ever made.
What's number one?
Okay, The Matrix, hands down.
Really?
Yes. I love The Matrix. I think it's one of the definitive films in all of film. In my personal opinion, it goes The Matrix, John Wick, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
What about Bogus Journey?
Bogus Journey is directly under it.
Really? I feel like he's had other movies. Wasn't he in, like... Oh, I'm going to have to look up his
Filmography?
Movies. Yeah, I was going to say discography.
Well, yes,
I
mean,
he's not a band.
Nicolas Cage has been in a bunch of movies as well. Doesn't always mean that he's good or the movie's good. Yeah, Keanu Reeves has been in a bunch of shit.
What about Constantine?
I did not enjoy Constantine the movie.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to find something that breaks your
I didn't
list.
care for the movie, and I didn't care for him in it. The TV series that was canceled due to The Curse of the Palmer, I loved. I thought that was phenomenal.
What about Dracula? Bram Stoker's Dracula.
He sounded like he was playing right out of Bill and Ted in that movie. I'm Count Dracula.
Well, he had to get his chops up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he sounded like a California surfer in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Good movie, not good in it.
Point Break Dracula.
Yes, Point Break Dracula. All right, Point Break was good. He was the weakest link in the movie, but it was still a very good movie.
What about Devil's Advocate?
He was excellent in Devil's Advocate. I will give him that. That one I will put as number 5.
Okay. I guess
simply because I forgot about it. As a matter of fact, that one might even beat out Bogus Journey, but it's in the top 5.
I guess I can't break up your list. We'll find one eventually. Eventually, Keanu Reeves will outdo himself. Have you seen the second one yet?
He probably will.
Have you seen the second John Wick?
I have not.
I
haven't had the chance.
All right.
I haven't had the chance. I've had so many more shows and movies to watch. I just haven't had the chance yet. It's not even like it's that far down on the queue or anything. It's just movies like that. Like, Brooke watched it with me, and she loved it. Specifically, brief spoilers, but there is a monologue that he delivers in that movie where he's talking about how he's trying to grieve and trying to move on with his life, and the big bad guy, or the inciting villain in this film, took that away from him, and he delivers a monologue with probably the best acting that I've ever seen Keanu Reeves give. And it blew me away. How he wasn't nominated for at least a couple of awards, I will never know. I don't think he's all that great of an actor. I think he's fine at best. But that monologue that he delivered was so powerful. I think you know the one that I'm talking about. Yep. He took that from me. He stole that from me. He killed that from me. Yep. The way he delivered that line was incredible. Gave me chills. That one did not make me cry like a little bitch, but it did give me chills. I thought that was brilliant acting. So that, I do want to see the second one. From what I understand, it is down to hang. It is on par with the first, but again, I can't give my opinion because I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either. I was just curious because we're probably going to watch that one eventually here as well. I was going to say Tavia loved it. She hands down thought it was amazing. She's like, usually I'm not that pulled into a movie. But she's like, I was right from the beginning. I was on board. So,
you know what? Why don't we take a couple of weeks? Maybe not next week, maybe the week after, or something like that. Let's do an episode of Nerdynomicon about sequels. We'll talk about sequels. We'll talk about that one, maybe a couple of others. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, let's do that. Let us know what you guys think. If you want that idea, if not, we're probably going to do it anyway. Just tune out to that episode. Or don't tune out to that episode. Whatever you guys want to do. So I don't know. I'm not your boss.
We'll do John Wick 2 and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. And Matrix Reloaded. It will be all Keanu sequels.
All Keanu all the time.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun episode. I'm going to enjoy recording that. I know Kung Fu.
I was waiting for that one.
All right, and now the big review that we've got here, the one that's going to lead us into our main topic.
Yeah?
Oh, you were taking the movies. I thought you were going to go with that
I
one.
thought it was me. I was waiting because I thought maybe you had something else to talk about before we got into that one. Did you watch
No.
it? You had to have done something else this week. Give me your review. Give me your review of Once Upon a Time, since it cut into the beginning of our recording. It was so important. You have to review it now on the show while I look on disgustedly with surly eyes.
Okay, the first 3 episodes of this year's season of Once Upon a Time. This is a show that I don't enjoy watching week to week. This is one of the ones that I enjoy binging. And this season is honestly why. The very first episode was a bit of a breakneck speed for the first 10-15 minutes. It seemed to just kind of rush right on through. Didn't pay much lip service to the fact that I may not remember all of the high points from last season. Maybe I should have gone back and rewatched the last couple of episodes just to get more of a firm grasp as to what was happening. However, I already am kind of checked in for the mystery and the main arc that seems like it's going to be running throughout this season, which has to do with Bella, there being some sort of prophecy, her hands shaking, she's getting sort of prophetic visions about her own death, which hopefully will not come to pass, but I don't know, I'm only a couple of episodes in. And a bunch of characters coming from the land of untold stories, which is interesting, seeing as though I've read most of these stories, but it's kind of cool how they incorporate not just Cinderella, but Cinderella's wicked stepsister and wicked stepmother. The Count of Monte Cristo, for whatever reason, is now in a Disney show. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde seems to be popping up all over the place because there's a British show that I was just told to start watching called Hyde or Jekyll, one or the other. I forget which. Still haven't watched it, but it's on my list. And also, he's in the new Mummy movie, and the Dark Universe is building around of it. So Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is fucking everywhere now. He's there.
Ooh, I got an idea for a new Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde show. So instead of being a doctor, Dr. Jekyll, he's a bounty hunter. So and the title of the show is Hide and Seek. Huh?
Ooh.
Yeah? No. No.
Hollywood, hire this man. I'm the fucking writer in the company, and you just came up with a great idea. Ooh. Hollywood, you need to hire Adrian Steve. Hire him. He's got the talent. He knows what's up.
I'm good.
He may be a bit surly.
Really bad.
He may be a PR nightmare. I don't know, but hire the man. You'll find out what's what. You know he's not going to walk around grabbing him by the pussy. Had to throw a reference in there. So as of right now, I would say that this is yet another really good season of Once Upon a Time. Again, I'm only 3 episodes in, so it could go in any direction, but I would like to give this one 4.5 out of 5 possible evil queens. I think it's really engaging. I think that the acting is good. I still think that Mary Margaret needs to change her goddamn hairstyle because that does nothing for her, and that's a really attractive woman. So, that's what I think. I think she's prettier as snow. All right, how was that review for you? I was completely unprepared.
I know. It went well. You did a good job. I'm still not going to watch it, but you did a good job.
I appreciate it. So the main movie that we wanted to talk about for you guys was a movie called What We Do in the Shadows. This was a movie that's been recommended to me over and over and over and over and over and over again. Like, most of the people that I talk to cannot fucking shut up about this movie. It was released in 2014, running time 85 minutes, countries New Zealand and USA, budget of only $1.6 million. This movie was fan-fucking-tastic. Now, you're going to be sitting there, What We Do in the Shadows, what is that? That either sounds like a horror film, like a really dark, sinister horror film. It also might sound like a porno. It's neither, but the horror story is a lot closer to what you're going to run into with a movie like this. This is actually a mockumentary. This is Spinal Tap or Best in Show or Waiting for Guffman style mockumentary, but it has to do with vampires. And I've got to be honest with you, man, I was not expecting this movie to be this good. But this is one of those few movies that got me immediately directly from the trailer. Like, Marvel's good for it. DC is on the fence about it, but lots of other just regular movies, either it looks really, really good or it looks really, really bad. But most comedies, I don't bust out laughing right there in the trailers. This movie had me laughing hysterically just from the trailers alone. It follows a couple of vampires named Vladislav, Deacon, and Peter. And Peter kind of looks like a Nosferatu type motherfucker.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be over 8,000 years old. All of the other ones, the baby of the group is 183. Vladislav, which is obviously supposed to be like Vlad Tepes, a.k.a. Vlad Dracul, or Vlad Dracula, 862 years old. And Vlago is 379. And this movie, it touches on so many different types of creatures. There are zombies in there. There are werewolves in there. The werewolves were some of the best parts.
Oh, yeah.
We're werewolves, not swearwolves. Watch your language, goddammit. You just swore. I'm the alpha. I'm allowed to swear. Oh my God, so good. And the fact that they have a human that they love the guy. He's just fun to be around for them, named Stu. And every group of friends has a Stu, where he's just the most vanilla person in all the world, but God help you, you love him. You know those types that I'm talking about?
I'm pretty sure I'm Stu in most of my groups. I'm just kidding. That's not true.
Dude, there's very few things vanilla about you. Rocky Road, maybe. Perhaps occasionally a peppermint chip. But vanilla, not so much. I can't really say too much about this movie without, giving away a lot of the jokes, okay? And that's really what makes this movie effective. I mean, we could give a full-on spoiler review, but for one thing, we're trying to stay away from spoiler-filled reviews. And for another thing, this movie is just far more effective sitting down, knowing what it's about, and just letting it happen to you. This is just one of those comedies that's going to stick with you. It's going to have you laughing your ass off for a long time to come. Like I said, a lot like Spinal Tap, a lot like Waiting for Guffman, a lot like Best in Show. So if you have not seen this, you need to go see it.
Yeah, man, I really enjoyed it too. I think there were times where it was kind of slow. It's not going to be your typical Hollywood movie where they just kind of smack you in the face with joke after joke after joke. It's more...
Right, yeah, they take their time to build it.
Yeah, it's a little drier. It's a little bit more about the relationships and the characters and the kind of like the weird quirky things. But that isn't to say that there isn't any humor or any good jokes in there. But it's more entertaining, and a lot of the humor is derived from the interactions of, say, like the guy who is kind of like the leader of the house and trying to wrangle in all the roommates, and how they don't really respect him, or they're doing their own thing, and it's it's a very common boring situation with a very interesting supernatural set of beings, So it's
exactly.
Like, it's watching
yes.
a bunch of vampires that have been around for, a century or 8, depending upon which one you're talking about,
right.
Going through the exact same stupid shit that the rest of us do, like you're making too much noise, or you haven't done the dishes, or we're having a meeting and you're going to be down there in 5. It's like, nope, I'll be down there in 20 minutes. Just like the dynamics of people living together. And
he's 8,000 years old. He doesn't need to come to the meetings. Yeah. He doesn't need to go to the roommate meetings.
Yeah. So, and it's funny how the guy who's kind of in charge of the household is also kind of the most sheepish of all of them. It's like he
by far, yes.
He doesn't have that like ruler alpha mentality of like, this is how things are going to be, and this, I'm in charge, and you guys are going to do how I say it, and we're going to make sure everything works. He's kind of like, well, it'd be really nice if you could, you said you were going to do this, and it's kind of your chore, and it'd be really great if you came to this meeting. We're going to have it in 5 minutes. Okay, you said 20. Okay, 20, and hey, I want to see if you want to come, but you're okay, you're busy, all right, bye. Like, it's funny watching, someone trying to be a leader and not doing a great job at it. And
precisely,
also,
yes.
At the same time being this, like, vampire lord of the night, eats or drinks blood and kills people, and being timid and naive, and I think the highlight is his story about how he came to, I think it's they're all in New Zealand, right?
Yes.
How he came to New Zealand and he was following a girl and all the stuff that happens around that, that was one of my favorite little subplots that was going on throughout the documentary. So, but I mean, I think if you like shows like, I'm trying to think of something. I want to say Flight of the Conchords because it's got one of the guys from Flight of the Conchords in it, and I'd say some of the humor is the same. But if you like Flight of the Conchords just because of the music, because the music is fantastic in it, you're not going to get that in this movie. But if you like the rest of the stuff where it's kind of funny, silly, awkward, people living together, this should be right up your alley.
Yeah. Actually, that's a perfect comparison. I like that. I like that a lot. So yeah, as far as ratings for this movie goes, I'm going to give this 2 very enthusiastic fangs plunged deep into the neck of Keanu Reeves.
That's funny because I was gonna say 2 fangs down, but that would be a good thing. So
yes.
You went with it. Yeah, I would give it 2 out of 2. For what it is, it's very funny, and it's not trying to be anything, more than that. It's just
exactly. It's not for everybody, but it is unapologetically what it is supposed to be and what it is trying to be. And whether you like it or hate it, you have to respect that. Kind of like Deadpool or Mad Max Fury Road. As incredible as I think those movies are, they're clearly not for everybody. They are what they are, and they make no apologies for it. This movie is a lot like that. It's in that similar vein. It is a mockumentary. If you're not into the style of mockumentaries, you may not like it. But it is something that I've never seen done before in this particular way. And I cannot say enough about it.
Then keep going. No, I'm just kidding.
Dick. So this review kind of leads me into our main topic, which we'll just hit on very briefly. What types of monsters do you feel are underrepresented in films and in television? Because there's a lot that seem to have a supersaturation, like way past the point of, okay, now we've had enough. Oh, you've had enough? Well, how about this and this and this? And werewolves, unfortunately, have always been one of my favorite monsters ever since I was a kid, but werewolves are even starting to get to that point for me. I mean, I don't think anybody can argue that zombies are way past the point of supersaturation, as are vampires. I mean, after that Twilight bullshit that we had for a few years there, and, the Vampire Diaries, vampires just, they're extremely overplayed, and I'm saying this after watching a movie about vampires, but this was done in a way that I wasn't expecting and didn't see coming. Zombies, you've got The Walking Dead, you've got Fear of the Walking Dead, you've got World War Z, you've got Z Nation, you've got the library of zombie movies out, Return of the Living Dead, Night of the Living Dead, Night of the Living Dead Part 27, I don't give a fuck.
To back up just a second, because you're talking about how vampire movies are super saturated, we just talked about a vampire movie. I would almost contest that to say this isn't so much a vampire movie as it's a movie about roommates who just happen to be vampires. You know what I mean? Them being a vampire isn't central to it. It's all about the relationships. It's peripheral.
Yeah, the fact that they are vampires is peripheral. So yeah, that's a good note to make. I'm glad that you said that, because that's a very good note to make. But regardless, they are vampires, but that's a good note to make. I'm glad you said that. But here's the question. What type of monsters do you think are completely underrepresented in film and in television?
For me, I guess it depends on how you actually classify monsters. So, as you said, we've had a shit ton of zombie movies. We had a shit ton of vampire movies. We've had not as many werewolf movies, but still a lot, and oftentimes werewolves and vampires at the same time.
Right, like Underworld.
Like Underworld and Twilight. I've never actually seen it, but I can tell. You just I will say this. Tell.
You know how I always try to stay positive about absolutely fucking everything?
Yeah.
All right, Twilight, from a cinematic standpoint, as someone who went to film school, from a filmmaker standpoint, Twilight is visually stunning. The DP is on point. The soundtrack, the way it's utilized, is excellent. The shots are good. The angles are good. Visually, it's a fantastic film.
I didn't realize they did DP in that movie, but I guess it makes sense with, the one band. I can't even finish that.
However, from an acting standpoint, from a story standpoint, that movie is complete and total fucking garbage. It is absolutely awful. So, again, that is just my opinion, and I know that we just pissed off a whole bunch of tweens, or people that were tweens when it was popular. So, sorry guys, but that's just our opinions.
Exactly.
You can agree or disagree.
Yeah.
It's cool.
If you don't like it, you'd be like, oh, these are old assholes anyways. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And then play with your fidget spinners and roll away in your wheelies or heelys or whatever. No, whatever the kids are doing these days.
Adrian, I'm playing with a fidget spinner right now, dude. Be careful.
Play with your bop it and, roll your hoop down the street with a stick. Whatever.
All right, now you're going closer to our side. All right, let's get back on topic here. Now we're just completely confusing. All right. So, werewolves, I've always loved them. I was a huge fan of the Howling movies. I love the Ginger Snap movies. I think they're some of the smartest werewolf movies ever made. But yeah, even now, because of movies like Underworld and because of things like Twilight, they're in the area of supersaturation. Yeah.
I think if you lump them all together, sorry, I've cut you off there totally.
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead.
But I mean, you could even lump together some of the stuff like the ghost movies. Even though there's not one specific ghost, there's a lot of ghost movies and like your paranormal activities and this and that. And going hand in hand with that are like the demonic kind of possession movies. That's a whole genre that we have a lot of. And usually those kinds of like spiritual ones are the ones that I gravitate more towards, because it's like, oh, Jason, guy with the fucking machete, like you could theoretically fight that. You probably are going to lose. You could theoretically fight that. It's like, oh, something you can't see and comes and attacks you and you can't do anything about it. Like that's scary to me. Kind of like
I still love those movies. Oh, the Japanese movies. Oh, dude, they get me.
Yeah, those ones.
We should do a fucking episode on those movies.
Didn't we already? Well, let's see what we can find, and let me find a week where it doesn't matter if I don't sleep at all. Because so I mean, there's a lot of categories. So it depends how you make a category. If we go back to like the classical fucking monsters, even though there is a new Mummy movie and it's absolute dog shit, apparently, there's not a lot of mummies in movies.
I agree. I think that there should be more mummies. I was actually going to say that. And as far as the Mummy goes, I haven't seen it yet, but from the people that I actually trust and the people that review movies that have mindsets a lot more like mine, I've been hearing everything from absolutely terrible to absolutely awesome, but it's mostly been lukewarm. The consensus is this was a poor movie to launch a cinematic universe on, but it was not terrible. So, I don't know. Eventually I'll see it and I'll give you guys my opinion. But this is just going from hearsay. But I would agree with that. I would like to see some more mummies. I think that they can be done effectively. I think that they can be done in ways that we haven't seen before. Because every time you see mummies, you see them in the traditional way. You see them ancient Egyptian. Not really thinking about the fact that there are ancient ziggurats, which are very similar to pyramids, way down in Central and South America. So you could actually have your cake and eat it too, as far as American lore and as far as like, instead of ancient Egyptians and Imhotep and Ra, and I almost said Isis because Isis was actually an Egyptian god, but now it's a band of cowardly terrorists. You could have your Mayans and you can have your Aztecs and your Incas. You could have people that are known for human sacrifice and playing soccer with skulls. You could do that. So why that hasn't been done, I have no idea, because they used rituals of mummification down in Central and South America as well. And lots of those mummies are in those ancient ziggurats. So why they don't do stuff like that, I don't know. Maybe we need to.
Here's something that I would like to see, although I don't know if it could be pulled off. I feel like every mummy movie is somebody waking the mummy and then it follows them back to wherever they are, and they have to run away. You know,
basically just describe my sex life during the weekends.
Yeah.
Somebody wakes the mummy, and then it follows her around, and wherever she goes, yeah.
Oh, you're the mummy? I figured.
I'm the mummy.
Okay.
Well, not
Figured
me,
she'd be
but,
the
you know,
mummy,
little
since she's
me,
the mommy.
that's the mummy. Somebody wakes up the mummy. That's right.
But what I'd like to see, and again, I don't know how feasible it would be. It probably wouldn't be accurate to, like, real life when it comes to archaeology and the way they were built.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to see a mummy movie where you awaken the mummy, and it's an expedition to a pyramid or whatever, and then the pyramid starts kind of closing in and changing, and it's almost like, and the whole, they just have to get out. They're just trying to get out while being hunted and haunted by this mummy. Kind of like, think of like the original Alien, but inside a pyramid, and the alien is a mummy. You know what I mean? Something like that. Something where it's claustrophobic, and you're kind of, but they're, you know, that's what
actually,
I'd like to see.
in a way, what I was just thinking about as you're describing that is that movie 13 Ghosts. Remember how the house becomes almost like this mechanism?
Right.
And all the doors start closing and locking, and different paths and everything start opening up?
Yeah.
That's more what I was thinking about, and that is a really cool idea.
So yeah, something like that, although, again, probably not exactly true to real life and how the pyramids are actually built. But maybe you could make it work.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, you made us believe that Keanu Reeves was a badass assassin in John Wick. Who's to say that we can't believe that? Come on.
To be fair, I believe Keanu Reeves trains really, really hard for those movies, and I think he actually enjoys like the gunplay and that kind of stuff. I feel like I've seen a YouTube clip or something of him training, or even just doing it for fun.
I saw it.
Where he was doing, he was doing like a course with a bunch of weapons and taking out targets as fast as he could, but accurately. And
yeah, I actually saw it while they were comparing that movie to Iron Fist to talk about why Iron Fist sucked, which still to this day pisses me off and I completely disagree with, but that's beside the point. We're not talking about Iron Fist.
Yeah, it's not a fair comparison.
Right, completely. And we even said that on our show. So
if we want to talk about movie monsters that are completely underrepresented, I would say something that we haven't seen in a while, although I could be wrong. You know, we've seen the Mummies a little bit. We've seen zombies and vampires and werewolves, but we haven't seen like those crazy mutated, ugly sea creature kind of movies, like the creature
kind of like Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the one that's kind of missing out. And
yeah,
I'm not sure.
You're
exactly
right. We're getting a lot of
why
kaiju movies, but not things like that. Although, as long as the Dark Universe continues on, we are going to get a Creature from the Black Lagoon movie, and maybe that will kick off something like that. But that's a good point. I was gonna. That was on my short list here as well. I've got 2 more that I have written down.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a very, very good point. Humanoid, sea-dwelling creatures. Kind of like chuds from the lagoons. Yes, I agree. You don't see a whole lot of stuff like that. The closest you see are backwater hillbillies that live down in, like, the Ozarks. So I guess it's kind of the same thing, only they don't have gills? Maybe?
I don't know.
One thing that I have written down here, just because the legends of this creature span the globe, and they have different names, but most people that actually study it all consider them to be of the same species now, just prevalent in different areas. And I'm talking about Yetis, Bigfoot, the Abominable Snowman. There was a few movies that were done back in, I believe, the late 1980s. Called, what was it? Like, Creature of Bog Creek, or Boggy Creek, or The Shadow of Boggy Creek. I don't know, something like that, where it was almost like a found footage about Bigfoot. But I think that movies like that could be done really well now. You know, you could capitalize on the whole, granted, super saturated, but you could capitalize on the found footage aspect. Or you could focus more on more of a claustrophobic feeling, or a Lost in the Woods type scenario. You know, I mean, even today, there's a lot of stories that come out about Bigfoot, or about skunk ape, or about the abominable snowman, or the Yeti. There are sightings to this day. I mean, it's so popular that there's a roller coaster in Disney's Animal Kingdom dedicated to the Yeti. So why it's not represented that much in film is kind of confusing, because I don't know, man. I think it could be done well. I think it could be done scary. Maybe it lost a little bit of its cachet because of Harry and the Hendersons way back in the day.
I don't know. I don't think you can say like an entire movie genre has lost something because of one less than scary take on it. You know what I mean?
Well, my point with making that is Hollywood producers and Hollywood studios, they're run by cowards. You know what I mean? There's a reason why all we see nowadays are reboots, sequels, and superhero movies. And that's because they're the only things that make the money. But here's the problem. They're the only movies that really are getting greenlit. So of course they're the only ones that make the money. They're the only ones that are out there. And for the most part, when somebody comes out there with a new idea, they don't put a lot of money into marketing that idea. So the movie does not do that well. And they consider it a flop. And, oh, well, see, it didn't fail. It doesn't have a Caped Crusader in it. We're just going to make another Iron Man movie. And don't get me wrong, I love them. But that punishes the whole idea of innovation. But every once in a while, you get something that breaks through. You know, I mean, I guess that is the reason why I've always defended M. Night Shyamalan. Even though, even to me, he's been the butt of a lot of jokes, at least he's always doing something original, with the exception of The Last Airbender. You know, whether you love him or hate him, or love his movies or hate his movies, I'm, like, for the most part, split 50-50 on his movies. You know, I love the first three. I actually loved Lady in the Water. I fucking hated The Village. And I hated The Happening. The Happening just was not happening. But now he comes out with Split, and it's fucking badass. So, I don't know. That was kind of a long rant, but my essential point is try something inventive. Try something that we haven't seen in a while. Try Bigfoot. Just try Bigfoot.
That just sounds like this weird sex position that you're trying to sell people on. It's like, try something inventive. Try something new. Try Bigfoot.
Try Bigfoot. And when you're done with Bigfoot, try watching a movie about Bigfoot.
When you're done trying Bigfoot, try a shower.
That's right. And the final thing I want to bring up, just because they terrify me. Up here in Buffalo, we're surrounded by Indian reservations. And it's one of my favorite things to do when it hits like mid-September, way into October, and sometimes even into November. I love going on ghost tours, because a lot of places around here have a lot of history, a lot of lore. There are battleground sites from like the Wars of 1812. There's, you know, a lot of ancient Indian land here, especially on the reservations. So you get to meet and talk to some really cool and interesting people. Back when we were still doing Polygon Table, we even had a paranormal researcher here on the show, or on that show, named Mason Winfield. And he kind of got me in touch with a few chiefs from the local tribes around here. And some of the Native American lore and some of the Native American stories. And they, mind you, these are things that lots of people still believe and lots of people will not speak to you about to this day. Like, this is not a joke. They still believe in these spirits, and they still believe in some of these creatures, and will not talk about them to people outside of their tribes. I find them to be horrifying and just unnerving. And one in particular is the Wendigo. You don't see the Wendigo used very often. Wendigo has typically two types of forms. The form that I'm referring to is the one that's actually pronounced Wendigo, and that's the inhabiting demon spirit. The other one is pronounced Wendigo, and it's usually used out in the Pacific Northwest for a Bigfoot-type creature that's usually like 50 feet tall. But the Wendigo is a demonic entity that infests a human host and fills them with a ravenous hunger. The demon is usually called into your soul by acts of cannibalism. So people used to rather starve and freeze to death back in the ancient time, or not even ancient times, but back with the Native American tribes, rather than eating their dead or anything like that just to stay alive when people would fall or get lost during the wintertime. They would rather starve or die of exposure than eat their dead and turn cannibal just to stay alive, because they were so terrified that the Wendigo would come and inhabit their body and force them into a murderous cannibalistic spree. And what happens is you turn greatly emaciated. Your fingers almost turn into claws because the skin retracts on their fingers so much that your bones become your claws. You develop huge fangs. You only come out at night. Fire becomes your enemy. The most recent time I've seen a Wendigo used was in a video game called Out Cold, which was, in my opinion, fantastic.
Was that based off of the snowboarding movie?
It was not.
That would be incredible.
It was not. And the only other time besides then that I truly saw it being used and used effectively was from another casualty of the Curse of the Palmer called Fear Itself. They had an episode of that show dedicated to Wendigos. It was almost like a network TV version of Masters of Horror. It was really, really good. Until it got canceled because I loved it so much. So, Wendigos, man. Bring us more Wendigos. Line them up. We'll eat the steaks. Bring us the Wendigos.
And scene. No, I don't have much to add to that because I don't know much about the Wendigos. At first, when you said they don't do enough movies about this, and they're surrounding here in Buffalo, I was going to be like, mirrors! And you said Wendigos instead, because, I don't know. I thought it would have been funny if you were like, I need more mirror horror movies. But I know you don't like mirrors. That's the joke.
Mirrors legitimately scare me. Yes, it's not a joke. The mirrors really do scare me. And for the record, I realize it's probably like me and 3 other guys in a room, but I actually loved that Kiefer Sutherland movie, Mirrors. I thought that was really effective and really frightening. Probably because I'm terrified of mirrors.
I remember it.
So, yeah.
And I thought it was pretty well done. I don't know. Is it... Not to dive too much into this, I guess, because I know we've talked about it before. Is it just mirrors specifically, or is it any reflective surface?
It's specifically mirrors.
That's interesting to me.
I mean, reflective surfaces as a whole unnerve me, but mirrors actually scare me.
Interesting.
It is interesting. I realize I'm a case study, Adrian. I realize if you are still in college and taking abnormal psychology, you could bring me in for show and tell.
Yeah, I mean, people are scared of stuff. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not trying to make light of it or anything like that.
I'm trying to make light of it.
I know, but I mean...
I realize it's fucking stupid. I realize that. I make fun of myself about it all the time.
But is it stupid? I mean, it's something... For some reason, something about it creeps you out, and that's just how it is, you know?
And I think and I've said this before, I think the basest way to describe what scares me about mirrors is I'm so afraid that one day I'm going to move and my reflection won't.
See, and I'm not enough of like a psychoanalysis guy to like get to like, well, that just means this. You're just worried that your life is going to pass you by. Or that you're going to miss out on opportunities, and that's the manifestation of the fear. You know, there's some bullshit like that you can try to make. So, you know. Yeah,
there's some bullshit like that they'll try to assign to it, but there's no baser meaning. I am legitimately afraid that the person on the other end of that reflection is not actually me. It's my doppelganger and wants my life and will try to suck me into the mirror. There is no metaphor. It is a very base level fear. It's not, oh, he's afraid of his reflection. That's a metaphor for the Spanish-American Civil War. No, I'm afraid I will move and my reflection will not, because my reflection is not actually me. That is what the fear is.
And that is going to come and take you. So you're afraid of losing all the great things that you have.
No, I'm afraid of what the fuck's on the other side of the mirror. What's so horrible that he wants to pull me in there? Dude, seriously, turn around. Enjoy Mirror World. Have fun. Eat a pizza. Pizzas are delicious.
I just had a pizza. Here's what I don't understand. Here's what I don't understand.
Adrian just throwaway sentence. I just had a pizza. It's good. So here's
Here's what I don't understand. If the mirror world reflects everything that is happening in the real world, and you're afraid that your reflection is going to want to jump out and take your life and switch places with you, not like kill you, maybe kill you, who knows? But
maybe kill me. I don't know.
But here's what I don't get. You say like you're afraid that he wants your life, but technically doesn't he already have your life? It all is existing in the mirror dimension too.
You would assume so, Adrian. I don't know. We don't talk, me and Mirror Robbie. We don't talk. I try not to talk to him because mostly I'm afraid he's going to speak back.
Maybe that's why you're scared. You just have a bad relationship. I bet you, if anything, he's more likely to come and get you because you're not talking to him. Hey, look how scared I was when you weren't contacting me today before our recording. I was ready to bawl my eyes out that you were dead in a ditch because you were running late and you didn't let me know. I was scared.
And then started composing a song and dressing up in a yellow dress. I know this.
Red dress. And it was a sonnet.
Fair enough. All right, dude, I'm looking at the time. I think it's about time for us to get out of here. If you guys like what we're talking about, if you like the episode, if you like the show in general, you can always contact us, man. Nerdynomicon@gmail.com. Tweet at us at Nerdynomicon. Instagram at Artful Gremlins. That one's not Nerdynomicon. Artful Gremlins is the name of our production group. So that's why that one's different over there. And if you really like what we're doing, you want to help us out, you want to support us, patreon.com/artfulgremlins is where you can go. Donate $1, $2, $5. Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps us pay for our servers, keep the lights on. It all goes directly back into the production of this show, of Couldn't Be Models, our sister show. It all goes right back to these guys. And if you don't have any money or you don't think that we're quite there as far as being willing to support financially, dude, that's totally cool. We 100% get it. All we'd ask is log onto iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review, because you would not believe how much that those help us out. You wouldn't believe. Every single one of them helps us climb further up on the charts so that more people can find us. And also, the last thing I'm going to say is YouTube show is coming, man. Holly's getting ready to start pulling out some great stuff. We're going to start out doing some fun lists, like the top superhero movies of all time. And she had a fun one. The top 5 movies that Holly loves that everybody else seems to hate. And she was really excited about that one, so I cannot wait to see what she's doing. And apparently, I'm going to have little clips in there as well, so it's almost going to be like a dialogue between her and me, but it's going to be mostly her. So don't forget to subscribe to us over there. You can find the link for us in the show notes. So subscribe to us on YouTube. Our podcast is over there. Subscribe to us rate us and review us on iTunes. Support us, patreon.com/artfulgremlins. And now I'm just going in reverse, so I'm going to cut it off right there. What do you think, Adrian?
And send Adrian a big bag of money.
There you go. And he's over there. And send Robbie a mirror because he was late for recording tonight because he was talking money, Cristo.
Oh, you know what? I know you're trying to get out, but just because you said that, I think we should start setting up a Kickstarter with a lofty goal to get you in a room surrounded by mirrors and tape it for our YouTube channel. And put you in your own little personal hell. I'm spiteful and vengeful today.
And that's going to take us out of the episode. So until next week, I've been Robbie.
I've been Adrian. I would never do that to you, Robbie. I would never do that to you.
I appreciate
our
it,
listeners might, though. Our listeners might.
Oh, let's close the book.